Hi, fifth graders. Well, today I'm going to show you how to plaster your sculpture. So, first and foremost, make sure that your sculpture is exactly how you want it. So is this the pose I want? I think maybe a little bit more drama. Ooh yeah, that's it. So, you guys are going to get these plaster strips. And these plaster strips are what you use if you break your arm. So hopefully you've never experienced that, but if you have, this might seem familiar. So it's just this plaster on top of this cotton gauze. And what happens is, well, I'm going to take off my watch. There is a chemical reaction, and when you put your plaster in water, it starts the reaction. So do not get these wet until you're ready to use them. If you get them wet and you don't use them, then I have to throw them away because they will harden and then they can never get soft again. So just do one at a time, and what you're going to do is dip it into warm water. Nice and warm. And you're just going to put a layer of plaster over your entire sculpture. So your foam, your board, your foil, okay? So you're going to do it like this. And I'm going to actually take the plaster and I'm going to make it go down this board and wrap it around the edges. When you put your plaster on, you just have to take your finger and you rub the plaster, because there are little holes. I'll show you. There are little holes on the gauze, like that. And when the plaster gets wet, you want to take your finger and just smooth that wet powder into all the holes. It will make it way easier to paint, and it will look really nice. Like, that's just good craftsmanship to cover up all those holes. Okay, so I'm just rubbing the plaster and filling up the holes. So what I want you to do first is just one layer of plaster. Okay, and then after that layer hardens, I want you to look at your sculpture and decide, it's not really sturdy here where the foot touches the base. And then you could go in and add extra layers just where it needs to be stronger. So I'm going to do one layer, but if I need to do two to make it strong, I can do two. This stuff does dry really hard, and if your sculpture is wobbly now, it will help to make it really secure when it hardens. Okay, so I'm just going to have you guys watch me do this. See if I can get closer up to you here. Too close, too close. Okay. So I take my plaster. Oh, one other thing is you can actually take your scissors and cut the plaster before you use it. If you need like a small piece, you can cut it smaller and make it just the right size for you. Okay, fifth graders, I worked on the base, and I wanted to show you that I have one little square here that I did not have a small enough piece of plaster for, so I'm just going to take my scissors, cut a little square, because I don't want to waste this plaster, and then cover up my last little piece. Make sure I'm wrapping it around the edges. So as I did the base here, I wrapped my plaster gauze around the edges so that it's just nice and neat on the edges. Now before it hardens all the way, I can go in and just very, very gently, ooh, it's already getting hard, guys. The process happens quickly, so you gotta hurry and do it. So I am just using my hands to fill in some of the holes before it hardens up on me, but this foot already is. I am going to do the body now. And all you're going to do is just wrap that body in a layer of gauze. Make sure to just smooth that stuff out. Ooh, I can use what's dripping to fill in the holes on the foot. All right, get the holes the best you can. Now what's nice is you can leave some holes in this because Giacometti, his sculptures were really full of interesting texture. So if you have some holes in there, it's not the end of the world. It will create interesting texture. It might just be a little tough to paint. So you're just covering every single inch of your sculpture with your plaster gauze, okay? Every single inch of this with this plaster gauze. And like I said before, if there's one part that seems really weak, like the body keeps falling out of the base, go back in after it hardens up the first time and add 1 or 2 more layers, and it will make the thing really, really sturdy. Okay guys, so I've done the whole sculpture in plaster, but I ran into a problem. I laid the sculpture down because I wanted to get better access to the back, and I kind of broke the leg and it got really wobbly and it started to fall over. So what I've done is I propped it up against this bucket. If you have issues, you can always prop your sculptures against something. And before I let it dry for the evening, I am going to just put a little bit of extra plaster on this leg, because this leg just got really wobbly and I think it just needs to be stronger. So you're going to have to be problem solvers here. You're going to have to be engineers as well as artists and have to figure out, how do I make this strong? How do I make this sculpture hold its own weight? So I'm just adding a little extra reinforcement to this leg, and I think if I let it sit like this overnight, then it should be okay. I'm going to do a little bit down here on the foot too. So it should be sturdy enough in the morning that it's not fallen over anymore. Fingers crossed at least. I'll do a little bit more on this leg. Okay, so I have now done every little bit of this sculpture, and I'm going to let it harden, and if I need to, go in tomorrow and put some extra pieces of plaster on to strengthen it, or to cover some spots that I say, oh, I missed it, or if there's just a lot of holes, I can always go in and fix it up. But I think now I'm just going to let it sit and harden up, and that is it. Have fun and get messy.